If you take a closer look at Devil's Tower, you will notice it's been stripped of its external bark. For centuries, Aboriginal, African, and native Indians used trees as well as plants to make medicine using bark, branches, and leaves to cure all their sicknesses. Things like adjusting their body temperature to cold were essential, as clothing wasn't a thing. Just as sacred as marijuana is on healing cancers and disease, every plant and tree on earth has the potential to heal the human body. Like all natural life forms, people and plants all start off in darkness, whether it's in the soil or in the womb. With the right water, nutrients, sunlight, and chemistry, they all become their own beings or creators. So where does the human body get the chemical or the ingredients from? From the sun, the moon, and the stars. In the Bible, it says, "The stars, let them be for signs and seasons." The stars and their corresponding elements are found on the periodic chart. This is why certain plants and animals are found in one area of the world and other species are found elsewhere. The environment itself is a natural process through light, sound, vibration, and communication, which creates an ecosystem. This is known as sonoluminescence, the voices of the heavens. These stars and chemical reactions are also found within the functions of the human body through the firmament that we call our skin. The skin is the largest organ of the human body. It absorbs everything. Remember, you are what you eat. When a mother is pregnant carrying her baby, the motion of the skies, the alignment of the stars, the temperature of the moon and the earth and the sun all play a major role in developing the human body and soul. These are known as the 12 tribes of Israel in the Bible. Israel meaning Isis, Ra, and El. These are also our 12 zodiac signs or horoscopes. The stars are for signs and seasons. While your parents' DNA play the physical role to a certain extent, it's just like baking a cake. Adding ingredients actually comes from the elements of the stars above. The sun is the furnace and the end result is the firmament, the armor of God. Everything from a laugh, smile, or tear has as much chemistry to it as making a coffee. The process of deoxidization caused by the flood in Genesis created a stone age, a new age of material, like a caveman discovering fire. The people who learned to master the alchemy or the stars ended up writing our history. Enter the Freemasons. For example, DMT is made of branches and plays a major role in Masonic rituals. Also, in the construction of Tower of Babel, they had to use the furnace to make bricks.
Now we know the Masons love to hide truth in plain sight, and they didn't fail us when it comes to the mimosa. Look here, in Horton Hears a Who, a mimosa flower. And here, the teacher is a mimosa flower. The mimosa teaching us. Teaching us. Did Dr. Seuss know? I would imagine so. I'm sure he smoked DMT. Dr. Seuss also wrote The Lorax, and look what it has in common with Horton Hears a Who. Mimosa flowers. They made a cartoon movie out of this book as well. I am the Lorax. I speak for the trees. The tale of when the giant trees were cut until none were left, like today, with no giant trees. The lore, folklore, the story of the axe. And tell me those aren't mimosa flowers. Those are so mimosa flowers right there. And the bears and the Lorax symbolize the creatures that people see when they smoke DMT. This is a full-on DMT experience in this picture. Now in that red Masonic book, it had the tree of life growing on the bed of the king, and it looked like a mimosa tree. So our next question should be, Do we have any connections with the mimosa tree and Lebanon? Followed by, was the tree of life in the center a mimosa tree, a DMT tree? So let's look. And they grow here in Hawaii like weeds, but way more beautiful. So I did some searching and found that the mimosa tree is called the sunt or sunt tree in the region of Phoenicia and is a shittim wood in the Bible. So I did find it in the area of Lebanon and Israel, and that it grows prolifically on the east bank of the Dead Sea, with Qumran just across on the west bank. Remember Qumran? The location of the Dead Sea Scrolls in a cave that looks like a giant tree cut? So the acacia wood is the mimosa wood, and I looked to see if the cedar is connected to the acacia and if there is a genus that is mimosa. And look what I found. There is. So does this mean that the ringing cedars, the giant cedars cut, were mimosa cedars and not the traditional cedars depicted in the Lebanese flag? And guess what the national flower of Australia is? The golden wattle, or cedar. The golden wattle with mimosa flowers in yellow. Notice how it looks just like a yellow version of the mimosa. See, even the little leaves look like the mimosa. And that's why the thistle is the official flower for Scotland, because it looks like the mimosa as well, although it is not, mimicking mimosa. Truth hidden in plain sight. They worship this plant and make it their national flowers. I found this interesting. In the Philippines, it lists the acacia, A-K-A-S-Y-A, as a medicinal plant. Acacia is phonetically the same as acacia, A-C-A-C-I-A. Notice too, acacia looks very similar to ayahuasca, A-Y-A-H-U-A-S-C-A. Ayahuasca would be a form of DMT, but with added ingredients to extend the experience. Notice mimosa on the list as well, mimosa saman. So we can see here the acacia, the acacia, ayahuasca, DMT, and mimosa are all connected, and it's listed under medicinal plant, right? So it actually helps people. There is even a chocolate mimosa. Now tell me that ain't pretty. Wow. And the Japanese have a bonsai version. Also, I did a search on DMT and Masons, and it looks like the higher degrees, remember the higher degrees, the red book, use DMT in their ceremonies. From the Reality Sandwich article, in their daring book, Mushrooms, Myth, and Mithras, author Ruck, Hoffman, and Seldrin made a bold attempt to interpret the founding myth of Freemasonry in an ethnobotanical context, seeing in the allegory of Grand Master Hiram Abiff's raising a possible allusion to a ritualized harvest of acacia root. The murdered body of Hiram Abiff, a master mason and master of works on Solomon's temple, was raised from his resting place beneath an acacia sprig, which marked the spot to those who would be sent by King Solomon to search. After the interred corpse of Hiram was found, Solomon himself went to the site to recover the body. Feeling beneath the ground at the site of the acacia, the king felt Hiram's hand. In the process of recovering his corpse, he first used the grip of the entered apprentice, then that of the fellow craft, but twice felt the skin slipping off Hiram's hand. Finally, Solomon used the grip of the master mason to raise the corpse. In the ethnobotanical context, we feel that this myth is a description of a ritualized acacia harvest. We note that the subterranean root bark of acacia and mimosa species are known to contain high levels of dimethyltryptamine, an entheogen which is strongly psychoactive when extracted and inhaled, and which is easily combined with other sacred entheogenic plants and consumed as a potion. Now let's go back to our image of the king lying in the bed with the tree upon it from the Red Masonic Book. Remember, the Red Book is a great work, a book of occulted knowledge. And so makes sense the author would include dream interpretations from the Bible, from the book of Daniel. We know it's in reference to Daniel because the picture looks so similar to this 15th century painting from France of King Nebuchadnezzar's dream of a tree. It speaks of a giant tree. Daniel 4. These are the visions I saw while lying in bed. I looked, and therefore before me stood a tree in the middle of the land. Its height was enormous. The tree grew large and strong, and its top touched the sky. It was visible to the ends of the earth. Its leaves were beautiful, its fruit abundant, and on it was food for all. Under it the wild animals found shelter, and the birds lived in its branches. From every creature was fed. In the visions I saw while lying in bed, I looked, and there before me was a holy one, a messenger, coming down from heaven. He called in a loud voice, "Cut down the tree and trim off its branches, strip off its leaves and scatter its fruit. Let the animals flee from under it and the birds from its branches. But let the stump and its roots, bound with iron and bronze, remain in the ground, in the grass of the field." Is this El Erez, the giant cedar of Lebanon, symbolic of the tree of life at the center of our world? Notice all the animals lived in the giant tree. Let him be drenched with the dew of heaven, and let him live with the animals among the plants of the earth. Let his mind be changed from that of a man, and let him be given the mind of an animal, till 7 times pass by for him. Does that mean we forgot? We're just remembering now? The decision is announced by messengers. The holy ones declare the verdict, so that the living may know that the Most High is sovereign over all kingdoms on earth, and gives them to anyone he wishes, and sets over them the lowliest of people. Daniel interprets the dream. Your Majesty, you are that tree. You have become great and strong. Your greatness has grown until it reaches the sky, and your dominion extends to distant parts of the earth. You will be driven away from people and will live with the wild animals. You will eat grass like the ox and be drenched with the dew of heaven. 7 times will pass by you for you until you acknowledge that the Most High is sovereign over all kingdoms on earth and gives them to anyone he wishes. The command to leave the stump of the tree with its roots means that your kingdom will be restored to you when you acknowledge that heaven rules. Therefore, Your Majesty, be pleased to accept my advice. Renounce your sins by doing what is right, and your wickedness by being kind to the oppressed. It may be that then your prosperity will continue. Your kingdom will be restored by doing what is right and renouncing your wickedness. Aleister Crowley, was known as the wickedest man alive. What does that make his followers? Followers of the left-hand path. Will they renounce their wickedness? Do what is right. And there is another peacock in the tree.
Genesis 4. Cain and Abel. Where did Cain bury Abel? Looking at Baalbek and the following regions from a Google Map satellite, it looks like a well dug up grave. It also looks like Baalbek might be the chest or the skull. You can easily make out the ribcage and a full spine with legs. The old skeleton bones even make up the roads. Baalbek is located on the opposite side of the Valley of the Holy Saints and close to the Syrian border. The only thing separating the Weda an-Nubin and Baalbek is the giant mountain, or Al-Araz, which we are now learning used to be a giant tree. Like the Bible says, Cain worked in the soil while Abel worked the sheep. When looking at an aerial view of the Baalbek temple, it looks like a man walking his sheep. So when and why was it all done? The Maronite Christians, who for generations deemed themselves custodians of the site, told legends of the giants who had built the colossal platform. According to an Arabic manuscript found at Baalbek, Nimrod sent giants to rebuild it after the flood, whilst another tale relates that Nimrod rebelled against his god and built the Tower of Babel. Other legends associate Baalbek with the biblical figure of Cain, the son of Adam, claiming that he built it as a refuge after his god Yahweh had cursed him. According to the Maronite Patriarch of Lebanon, Estefan Dwayhi, tradition states that the fortress of Baalbek is the most ancient building in the world. Cain, the son of Adam, built it in the year 133 of creation, during a fit of raving madness. He gave it the name of his son Enoch and peopled it with giants who were punished for their iniquities by the flood. The local Muslims also believed that it was beyond the capability of humans to move the enormous stones of Baalbek. Could the temples of Baalbek be the shrine that Cain built for Abel? They are conveniently located under the giant tree. Or did Nimrod come here and continue to build Babel after the flood, like the Maronite faith and the Bible strongly suggests? Or could it be where Freemasonry all began? The Masonic books that I had a look at while in Lebanon specifically focused on the books of Ezekiel, Daniel, Nehemiah, Nimrod, and Babel. Or did God take the giant trees and store them at Antarctica, as written in Job, for times of trouble and war? The book of Job, chapter 33, verse 22 clearly states, "Hast thou entered into the treasures of the snow, or hast thou seen the treasures of the hail, which I have reserved against a time of trouble, against a day of battle and war?"
So if you made it this far, we really want to thank you for watching the Ancient Tree Research Project, Giant Cedars of Lebanon. If you are new to this idea, then watch a video called No Forests on Flat Earth. It's the video that changed everything when it came out in 2016. Also, Rosette has a playlist of her own videos called There Are No Forests Decoded. Be sure to check that out. I completely understand that this sounds crazy, and even I wanted nothing to do with it when it first came up. But the more you look into it, the realer it gets. It becomes quite clear that we are merely living in the aftermath of what used to be, and even the smaller version of trees that we see today are being wiped out with no problem. If the money-hungry corporations don't handle it, then things like chemtrails will. They are rapidly destroying our environment while the politicians yell global warming and blame you. It's just sad, really, and at times it seems that there's nothing you can do, but there is something that you can do. While you are here, you can be your best and treat yourself, your friends, your family, and your surroundings with respect. You can make others aware that are around you so that they can make better choices for themselves. Sharing is caring. The fact is, whatever is happening here on Earth is something that is meant to play out a certain way. This is why there are so many synchronicities. This is why the Bible contains so much truth and prophesizes what's going on in the world today. We seem to be trapped in an endless cycle, and we always will be unless we get it right, and we far from have it right this time around. The messed up thing is that the world is only going to get worse unless you decide to make a change. Every individual counts in the whole. So start being a better person today and quit letting the psychopaths that use money to enslave you control your mind and what you think.